Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivanadhari Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radhe Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishpad Paramahamsa Prabhadyakacharya Sotar Sata Shishimade Si Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Badale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vacharane Visheshanadi Vischadistrane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're getting to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 28th chapter. Paranjan becomes a woman in the next life. Text 35 and 36. What do you think, Dravida Prabhu? Read the first verse chanting together or the second verse chanting together? Okay, thank you. See. Tatra Chandravasa Nama Tamraparni Vatadoka Tat Punya Salilar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Tatpunya Shalilar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Tatpunya Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Tatpunya Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Tatpunya Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Punya Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Tatpunya Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Tatpunya Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Tatpunya Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan. Last but not least, Tatra Chandra Vasanama Tamraparni Vatodika Tatpunya Shalalar Nityam Ubayantratmano Mrijan Kandasti Bir Mula Palayar Pushpa Parnais Tranodikai Vartamana Shanagatra Karshanam Tapa Astitaha Tatra there Chandravasa the Chandravasa river Nama named Tamraparni the Tamraparni river Vatodika the Vatodika river. Of those rivers, Punya, pious, Shalilai, with the waters, Nityam, daily, Ubayatra, in both ways, Atmanaha, of himself, Mrijan, washing. That's the first verse. Kanda bulbs, astibi, and by seeds, mula, roots, palai, and by fruits, pushpa, flowers, parnai, and by leaves, trana, grass, udikai, and by water, vartamana, subsisting, shanai, gradually, gatra, his body, karshanam, rendering thin, tapaha, austerity, astitaha, he underwent. Translation: in the province of Kulachala, there were rivers named Chandravasa, Tamraparni, and Vatodaka. King Maladwaja used to go to those pious rivers regularly and take his bath there. Thus he purified himself externally and internally. He took his bath and ate bulbs, seeds, leaves, flowers, roots, fruits and grasses, and drank water. In this way he underwent severe austerities. Eventually he became very skinny. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We can definitely see that to advance in Krishna consciousness, one must control his bodily weight. If one becomes too fat, it is to be assumed that he's not advancing spiritually. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur severely criticized his fat disciples. The idea is that one who intends to advance in Krishna consciousness must not eat very much. Devotees used to go to forests, high hills, or mountains on pilgrimages, but such severe austerities are not possible in these days. One should instead eat only prasad, and no more than required. According to the Vaishnava calendar, there are many fasts, such as Ekadashi and the appearance and disappearance days of God and His devotees. All of these are meant to decrease the fat within the body, so that one will not sleep more than desired and will not become inactive and lazy. Overindulgence in food will cause a man to sleep more than required. This human form of life is meant for austerity, and austerity means controlling sex, food intake, etc. In this way, time can be saved for spiritual activity, and one can purify himself both externally and internally. Thus, both body and mind can be cleansed. If we could pray together, please. Om Jnana-timirandasya Ginanjana Salakya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Didati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Param Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakopatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So before I begin, I'd like to thank Maharaj and Balaram Prabhu for allowing me to render or attempt to render some little bit of service. It's a pleasure to be here in your company. I like this verse. I hope there's no verses in the Bhagavatam I don't like, but what was nice about this verse personally is that it's describing Vanaprastha. Maledwaja is no longer a king. He's renounced his kingdom and he's gone to the forest and he's performing so many austerities and worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It was said verses earlier that he was a pure devotee while executing those duties as a king. But civilization dictates, according to the Vedic scriptures, that at a certain time you give up those types of activities, maintaining yourself, maintaining family, for the king maintaining the country. And you focus on that relationship which is most important, which is absolutely necessary for the living entity, and that's one's relationship with Krishna. So he's doing this. And his wife, of course, she followed along. The husband allows. Why would any wife not want to go along with such a saintly, advanced, pure devotee? No, she had been purified in his service and his company far beyond thinking, oh, I don't want to go to the discomfort of the forest. Let me stay with him. That's where my value lies. That's where my life lies, in the service of my pure devotee husband. So vanaprastha, I may have a very small well and thus a very small understanding or experience in this movement, but I really haven't heard all that much discussion or emphasis on vanaprastha, to be honest. First time I heard it was some years ago when Jandananda Goswami, at the time a brahmachari, he did some seminars in Mayapur on vanaprastha. And he was saying, come on, you can't stay in household life your whole time. I know. This is the Vedic thing. Ideally, at 50 years, one should go into vanaprastha. Srila Prabhupada did it 54 years old. He found his family life was not conducive to service to his spiritual master, so he left at that time. I remember when, at the time, Mahatattva Prabhu was our temple president, and he said, it's a shame because in California, all the Prabhupada disciples basically are working vanaprasthas. Because once you have a house, there's always that mortgage that goes on forever, so it seems. And if not, you've got the rent. I mean, it's not cheap to live here in sunny Southern California, SanDiego, or to have the association of you Prabhus in New Govardhan Dham. It's not cheap. And unfortunately, most devotees, God, I don't think they really see an end at the tunnel. Many devotees, it's like that. And it's a crazy age, this Kali Yuga. It's a crazy, upside, mixed up age. Although we're so fortunate because this is when Lord Chaitanya comes, just talking about the atmosphere. It's not conducive to Krishna consciousness. We don't live in a society that values the extended family, village life, agrarian culture. So it's not easy, but by Krishna's grace, I have been able to begin to identify with the duties of vanaprastha, and so this verse, it comes home for me, strikes home. So what's for breakfast this morning? Bulbs, seeds, leaves, flowers, roots, flowers, or we do have some tasty grass. And by the way, there will be water, clean, pure water. So, I know in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada would say, up to the neck, till you waddle away, but this verse and purport is not really leaning in that direction. We're supposed to grow and mature in our Krishna consciousness to where that's not really what inspires us to serve Guru and Krishna. This verse, there's nothing politically correct about this purport. Nothing. It's fat shaming is the terminology they would use. This verse should be thrown out. It should be edited. It should be corrected. Bull hockey. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, we don't care if the entire world joins together and in a unified voice says, you're wrong. We will stay faithful and true to the instructions of our spiritual masters, the disciplic succession in the Lord. It goes without saying that if you value what this human life is meant for, then you will surrender to a surrendered devotee of the Lord. The more advanced, the better. The ideal being a lover of Krishna. And you give up your false ego. It's a gradual process. I remember Balaram saying, it's nice to serve the person guru, the Vapu form? And he laughed and said, well, at the very end, it's also very humbling. It is. It should be. If it's not, we're not taking to the process properly, or Guru is not properly executing his service. We asked to be corrected. Vaisheshika made it popular in our movement. I live to be corrected. That's the mood of a surrendered devotee. So if the spiritual master sees fit that you're overeating, why are you overeating? You're not advancing and getting some internal pleasure? Your satisfaction of mind is simply dependent upon the taste of the food on your tongue? Not good. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati severely criticized his fat disciples. That's the mercy of the Guru. When we're wrong, he rights us. When we're right, he doesn't always compliment us. He does whatever he sees fit to help us surrender more and more in the service of the Lord and the devotees. So, politically incorrect, but as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, basically all the people ascribing to that fat is beautiful. You have no right, nor should you try to discourage somebody who happens to have a overweight body. I mean, my goodness, the angles at which the people, the greedy Vaishyas of the world, what they'll do to make money. They make clothes for overweight people, and they'll find somebody with a beautiful face and then put them in those clothes. And, hey, aren't you proud? Don't you see how beautiful I am? Just so they can make money. That's the motive of those who are the fashion designers and the people making and selling those clothes. But overweight, how good is that? I'll start that sentence over. So many of us have the fear of disease these days. And one of the big reasons one should be afraid is if you're overweight. Diabetes, weakened heart. I mean, obesity is a huge problem in America. Being fat is not healthy. And how can you be healthy when you're fat? It's really a symptom that you're unhappy and you're eating. Some people will drink, some people will take drugs, some people will chase after women and victimize them. So many ways you can become addicted in this world to try and feel the misery, the gaping hole in the heart. None of it works. That's why the spiritual master kindly emphasizes austerities, control of the senses and mind in the activities of service to Krishna. In and of itself, austerity is nothing to be proud of. Twice, Prahlad Maharaj says such a thing, such a statement. One to his classmates, going, "My dear friends, O sons of the demons, you cannot please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming perfect Brahmins, demigods, or great saints, or by becoming perfectly good in etiquette or vast learning. None of these qualifications can awaken the pleasure of the Lord. Nor by charity, austerity, sacrifice, cleanliness, or vows can satisfy the Lord. The Lord is pleased only if one has unflinching, unalloyed devotion to Him. Without sincere devotional service, everything is simply a show." And to the Lord, Nrsingadev, he prayed, "One may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, One can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this. An elephant pleased the Lord, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. Devotional service. Narada Muni says, what's the use of austerities without devotional service or Krishna consciousness? And when one is possessing Krishna consciousness, what's the use of one's austerities? The goal of everything in the Vedic scriptures is to bring us to the lotus feet of Radha Giridhari. Vedaishta sarvaraham eva vedya. And anything that doesn't help in that way, first canto of Bhagavatam says it's a useless waste of time. Shravam eva ikevalam. And that includes our austerities as devotees, or our learning knowledge of scriptures, philosophy, or any services that we render. If we internally are not realizing this is simply how I can show Guru and Krishna the seriousness of my intent to please them, then you may get recognition. They actually, Chatura read one book, she told me about this book where they've studied these things. Different religious organizations or faiths, they inevitably develop institutions and hierarchies. It's the way you can expand your outreach. It's a necessary evil. And I say evil because institutionalization, trying to put purity of surrender and devotion to Krishna into some external manifestation, is not easy. It actually, Atasri Krishna Namavi, how's it go? Atasri Krishna Namavi, Na Bhavam Gramya Indriyai. You don't capture Krishna with these material senses in and of themselves. You can't even see him. We can't even see ourselves with the material senses. But what to do? We have material senses. We have a material body. We have a material mind that is chock full of desires. And we have to utilize those in the service of Krishna. Who am I? I am His. I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. But unfortunately, since time immemorial, I've been considering the functions of the mind and the body, such as eating, drinking, sleeping, producing thoughts, to be my functions. They're not. They have nothing to do with us. They're all part of the phantasmagoria of the illusion that I can enjoy in this world, and the three modes of material nature push us around till one day the living entity becomes inquisitive of, why am I suffering? How can I become free of the suffering? And that's where the devotees come in. That's where the Christmas marathon comes in. Sharing with them. Without the help of a devotee, nobody has any hope. Austerity is absolutely necessary. That example has been given of the coconuts. When they're green, you shake it, it's thick, it's heavy, it's dull, but when it becomes mature, then you can shake it and it's become disassociated inside from the shell, the what they call the meat of the coconut. If you follow the process as it's given, with the desire to get what is being offered, which is purity of surrender and devotion, then we will come to the point of realizing this is a bad bargain, but I'm going to make the best use of it. I have to use this body. As long as I'm destined to be in it, let me give it all to you. So this austerity, when used in Krishna consciousness, is so important. But I was saying about the book written by sociologists and psychologists, institutions, somebody rises to the top in management, am I right? It happens. People have their nature and they do that. Well, it's been studied and I suppose you could say documented presented anyway, that if you become good in the externals of the activities that are seen as being a symptom of advancement, you may not be advanced at all, and you can rise up to the top if you become the most austere, if you become the most scholarly, if you become expert in different activities that the institution requires. And I'm not implying anything by saying this. I'm simply saying, let's bring it down to me and you. We can go through the process of our austerities, our sacrifice, our cleanliness, our study for decades and not really get it. I heard my Prabhu, Prankajangri, say some time back in a class, he said, when you do this Archanam, 4, 2, 3, 7, like this. He said, after some time, it's a gradual process, but at some point you ask yourself, why am I doing this? It begins to click. This is Krishna. And I'm an infinitesimal, tiny part and parcel of him. That's my nature, and my identity is his eternal servant. And when that light turns on, then Krishna consciousness becomes a whole different experience. Because as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter, the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment. But if the taste for sense objects remains, that can be a problem. There are accidents that happen even on the most well-kept royal road. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, one becomes fixed in consciousness. Elsewhere, Krishna says we're not meant to become attached to the attraction and the repulsion or aversion of the sense pleasures. We're meant to become attached to pleasing Krishna's senses. And this is the night and day of the conditioned soul and the devotees. It's all about pleasing Krishna's senses. And all these activities, the cleanliness is stressed in this verse, bathing in the rivers, the control of the tongue. It starts with the tongue. How does that go? Sevamukhi jivadel swayameva spratyada. It begins with the hearing and chanting process. So very important. Taking prasadam. And when we say taking, it's meant to mean honoring prasadam. It's not ordinary food. If offered with devotion, the Lord has accepted it. And I've met fanatical devotees who had a high opinion of their own surrender and standard of devotion, have actually questioned whether or not the deities were accepting the foodstuffs offered to them, and actually had the arrogance to think, I won't honor that. Maya's good. The false ego is very, very deeply ingrained. But the potency of Krishna consciousness is even if Krishna didn't accept it and you honor it, taking it to be the Lord's mercy, it's prasadam. Prahlad took poison thinking of it as being the mercy of the Lord. Prasadam. It didn't affect him adversely. In fact, his love, his relationship, his surrender and service to the Lord was deepened, increased. We can always do more, and for those of us who think that's impossible, I'm way overloaded, we can always do better. And that's the part about why are we doing this. We want to be recognized as being sincere in wanting to serve Krishna. Vijay Prabhu, when he gave class, the mic wasn't in the hands of whoever was saying, but he said something like, how did it go? We're trying to constantly remember Krishna. And somebody said something. They say, well, we're praying to constantly remember Krishna. And it seems like, we couldn't hear online, but it seemed like there was even, well, we're trying to pray to. And the laugh is there. But if we're hearing, using this, which arguably is the most important sense we have, hearing. If we're hearing from the pure Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas in these pages, from those who are followers and surrendered servants of our Srila Prabhupada, if we're hearing properly, you can't help but have reawakened within oneself the desire to please Krishna. It happens automatically. Chaito Darpana Marjanam. That's the potency of the transcendental sound vibration. It's the potency of any of the 9 activities in devotional service. Krishna is so kind. We heard this morning that simply in being engaged in the service of the Lord is the same. It's not different from associating with the Lord. Oh goodness, do we take solace in that. Because we should be coming to the point that we really want to see Krishna. We really want to serve Krishna. I've been reading Gopal Champu by your mercy. Oh man. There's a pastime when Krishna was young. He hadn't been born or with us manifest very long. And the elderly devotees, the gopis, and even gopas had gone to see baby Krishna lying there in the lap of Yasoda. And, Balaram expressed the love of a mother for the child and how it's like there's nothing like it. Prabhupada says that. And Dravida goes, well, yeah, it's called Maya. But for Krishna, this is where it all comes from. And he wants to experience that. He's not pretending. He has, in the eternal roadshow of the manifest Leela, he is in that baby body and he is relishing the mother making funny sounds and tickling him, poking him, and just pouring her monsoon of love upon him. And there were these young boys and girls, I think it was saying, Jiva Goswami, that when they were finally allowed to come see Krishna, they said, wow, we've heard how beautiful Krishna is. But until I saw him with my own eyes, I couldn't comprehend. His beauty far exceeds my comprehension, my understanding from hearing the description of his beauty. And why is that? Because his beauty transcends this world. There is nothing that holds a flame to the beauty of Krishna in this world. But the Lord, through his devotees in scriptures, wants to give us some idea to encourage us to want to see him, to want to serve him. And so, his lotus eyes are as beautiful as the rising sun. A friend of mine sent me a picture of the sunrise in Hawaii, the Big Island, a few days back. It was gorgeous. And that just is used as an indication of we can't comprehend how beautiful those lotus eyes are. Yam Shayama Sundram Achintya Guna Sarupam. They give us some idea, and the hearing cleanses the heart, cleanses the desire. It helps us to become the disassociated person within the body, the shell of the body. And once that takes place, then one begins to relish how the vibration of Krishna's name is Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, this is a new pastime I heard, tiny nugget of nectar. But when he would take his walks in Tittenhurst, John Lennon's estate, Yamuna Devi would accompany him often her and Guru Das. There's some nice pictures. Heavy coat. Wellingtons, they call them, the rubber boots. Walking in the dew-covered grass. And one morning, Srila Prabhupada said this twice. The name of Krishna is a vibration. And he repeated it a little bit later. The name of Krishna is a vibration. It's a transcendental vibration of sound descending from the abode of Goloka. It is Krishna. And when we train our mind, control our senses, bring the intelligence to the feet of the Guru and Krishna, when the purification takes place and one appreciates that Krishna is his name, he is his name, then, oh boy, as I said, Krishna consciousness is a whole nother experience. So we're meant, Malaram Prabhu was talking about getting ready for going out. The chanting of our rounds is such an important part of it. And studying, hearing the sound vibration of the Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, the Krishna Katha, so important. So that one can, these austerities, these things, they're important, but the best of sacrifices are austerities. And the correlation is the control of the senses. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and the purport, Prabhupada explains that all these different kinds of duties and activities that purify the conditioned soul, the thread that runs through it all is control of the mind and senses. If we don't practice controlling the mind and the senses in service to Krishna, there's no chance of getting the mercy or the direct service of the Lord's servants and himself. Impossible. But this sharing of Krishna consciousness, it's the highest austerity. Austerity can be defined as voluntarily accepting inconvenience or pain for a higher purpose. For us, it means we want to surrender, become an eternal associate in the Lord's family and village, eternally serving the Lord. And it's said in the 8th canto that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of people in general. That's considered the highest method of worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's present in everyone's heart. The more we develop devotion for Krishna, the more we will feel the need to extend our kindness and compassion to the fallen souls. Love for Krishna is synonymous with compassion for the conditioned souls. That's why Krishna's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Nam Ruchi, Jiva Daya, Vaishnav Seva. They go hand in hand. You don't separate them. If one of the boxes isn't checked, it's a symptom that we have a ways to grow, more need of surrender in the execution of our devotional service. I think I'm going to try and be a little brief this morning. I could say so much more, but that's a good start. Would anybody like to contribute and add to that or ask any questions? Dravida Prabhu, is there a microphone for him?
Haribol. Thank you, Raj,
Hare
for
Krishna.
coming back and giving this class. Hopefully this is a regular affair. You mentioned how we should want to see Krishna, and the hearing, of course, as you mentioned, the name is not different from Krishna, and the descriptions of Krishna are all not different, but there's something further about seeing Krishna. It brought to mind this verse, the first verse of Rukmini's letter to Krishna.
That's actually one of the pastimes that I had that relate to this
Is that
point.
right?
Please share it, yeah.
When I first read this, I don't know, maybe I was working on the Bhagavatam, because this is in the 52nd chapter, or it's quoted in one of the books. I said, I got to memorize this first. But it's exactly that, having heard, and beauty personified. Shudvagunan bhuvana sundara shinvatangte nirvishikarna vivarai hadatonga tapam rupam drisham drishamatam akilarta labam tvayatita vishati chittam apatrapang me. Rukmini said in her letter, in the Brahman's reading to Krishna, O beauty of the worlds, having heard of your qualities which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. So she just heard about Krishna and she fell in love, just like the Brahman's wives, the same thing, you know. So then, but then there's always that point when they see, like the Brahman's wives, when they saw Krishna, that was a whole different level, you know. So, anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. Or how about Gauranga? Jagannath has been in seclusion for 2 weeks. When the Lord and his associates get to come and have the darshan of Lord Jagannath, they don't leave. They're there all day long. Finally, they have to we're closing the temple. You have to go. They couldn't get enough. We hear these pastimes and we hear these glories of the Lord. If they're not grabbing our heart, we're not really hearing them. What awaits us in our surrender, the blessings of Guru. This Yasya Devi Parabhaktir verse, implicit faith. I looked it up. Complete. What was the other synonym? Complete and you would say all-consuming belief that if I simply serve Guru and Krishna, everything will be taken care of. We don't have to worry about it. In talking about hearing and chanting these names of Krishna, or the Katha of Krishna, we should do so knowing the Lord is non-different from such sound vibration. We should do so in a service mood, and we should do so without any expectation of return. We're the sold-out animal slave of Guru and Krishna, and they will take care of us, and they will simply look to our good. They will bring us back home. In that regard, Rukmini, unlike the kidnappers of this world that will write a message and send it to hey, we've got your grandson here in Mexico, and if you don't put the money on this... No, she's writing to Krishna, please come kidnap me. If you don't think I'm worthy, then I'll do these austerities for as many lifetimes as it takes till you'll finally see me as worthy of being accepted as your wife and maidservant. Nice mood in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, I was talking with my spiritual master one time, and I was, I don't know how it came up, but I was mentioning how Tirtha Maharaj, he one time told me, he said, oh, I like this bhakta. I'm not going to say what bhakta was. He said, I like this bhakta, but he said, I don't let him know that I like him, though. And then... anyways, I told it to my spiritual master in this conversation. Then my Guru Maharaj said, oh yeah, I had a similar experience with Prabhupada. He said, one time I was sitting with Prabhupada, he was there and I was sitting here, and then we had a life member, sitting right next, and we're all talking about something. And then my spiritual master was saying how he was looking at the life member, because he was the one speaking at the time, looking at him. And then he glanced over and looked at Prabhupada, and he saw Prabhupada looking at him with a lot of affection and a lot of... But then when Prabhupada saw that my spiritual master looked at him, he became very serious. He kind of became very serious. So anyways, maybe you could... Because I mentioned it because you said in class how the spiritual master, they may be pleased with you, but men all the time, okay, acknowledge it or something like that. So maybe you could comment on that whole kind of
Thank you. That's a very thought-provoking pastime you shared with us. The spiritual master simply wants to give us pure love for Krishna. And it's natural in the conditioned state that we need encouragement, we need support, but it's not the service of the spiritual master to flatter the false ego of the disciple. I've had God brothers say, within hearing range of the spiritual master disciples, you get those devotees who, when their guru is there, they'll push aside all the other devotees like they're a bulldozer. And some of those devotees are the God brothers of that spiritual master, and the spiritual master lets it take place. I've heard, I've seen a devotee I respect a lot go, this is the problem. They're not properly training. And you've mentioned it, I think, recently, that, man, this age, this generation, the younger generation, there's so much sense gratification that, man, it is not easy. If you just rub the false ego of somebody wrong, then immediately, I'm out of here. I've been pampered, the way they've turned it all upside down. No grades, everybody wins, everybody's a winner. You participated, you can't read or write, but we'll progress you on. Everybody, you were there, you showed up. That's going on. It's not that way in spiritual life. The guru doesn't think he's the master of anyone, but as a service he acts like he is. And it's when the child is at the age that they should be being disciplined, it's to be done strictly, seriously. When they get mature, that's another thing. Then the devotee won't be thinking, I need this, I need this. They know that my only reward is pleasing him. That's it. The service is the reward. And one who has experienced that thinks there's no greater pleasure. I don't need my guru to pat me on the back. He's kindly letting me serve him. So it's like that. Does that shed some light on it? It's a serious, it's not what we're looking for in the material world. How many times have we heard Srila Prabhupada's disciples share with us in their experiences with Prabhupada, I wanted him to look at me so badly, so badly, so badly, and Prabhupada wouldn't. And then when they came to the realization, why would he look at me? Why? I'm not worthy. Then he looks and he showers that loving glance, eye to eye. Anything else? Dravida has service. Jai. Thank you for your association, your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. Hare Krishna. Bhavananda Prabhu one time asked Srila Prabhupada, how could Lord Chaitanya pray Trinadapi Sunichena? He's God. How could he think himself lower than the straw in the street? And Srila Prabhupada said, because he realized he was 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. And Jananivas Prabhu, who was relating the pastime, said, of course he's not 1/10,000th tip of hair. My gosh, you know. Everything and everyone is within him. But being a devotee, absorbed in the identity of Krishna's devotee, then he felt himself lower than the lowest. And that's the example that he sets for us. And those who are actually spiritual mastered, they realize that. So, yeah. Nice pastime.